I mean, my father-in-law was a corporate executive. So if you know how much an amazing person like that would leave in their estate, please let me be the first to find out. So casual sounding. Alex. I rolled my eyes, but kept a placid smile on my face and met her warm grin. I heard it's about $800,000. Alex looked surprised. My name is Mia. Alex and I have been married for 20 years, and our son moved out this year to start college. Life with just the two of us doesn't involve much conversation, but we manage well enough. On his days off, Alex forms a baseball team with his colleagues and practices from morning to night. I work part-time and spend my weekends gardening or going to yoga with friends, filling my alone time with activities I enjoy. We do different things, but it doesn't bother us, and I think we're like any other couple our age. However, an unsettling air began to disrupt our routine. It all started with a message from a friend who goes to yoga with me, attached with a photo. I'm at the station now, and isn't this Alex, Mia's husband? I hesitantly opened the photo, and though it was from a bit of a distance, I could see it was Alex. He was walking, holding hands with a woman. My heart pounded loudly with anxiety. Is Alex having an affair? He said he was going to practice baseball today in preparation for tomorrow's tournament, but could that have been a lie? I think it's my husband, I replied. My friend quickly responded, what will you do? Do you want to come here? I pondered for a while before using my phone. No, it's okay. I'll talk to my husband. I closed my phone and sat down on the sofa. I felt too drained to do anything. My mind was only filled with the thought, what should I do? I could ask Alex, but I was afraid. If he is having an affair, what then? Divorce at this age, and with only part-time work within my dependence allowance, how could I possibly live on my own for the rest of my life? If I pretend I don't know anything, I can continue to live a peaceful life as before. But could I pretend not to know? I was lost in these thoughts alone. I wondered how long I had been like that when I heard the front door open, and I snapped back to reality. It was already 7:00 p.m. What's wrong? Why are all the lights off? Alex turned on the living room lights and spoke with a tone of disbelief. Oh, sorry, I was sleeping. Alex laughed in disbelief and started to wash his uniform in the washing machine. Seeing this, I realized that Alex had indeed been exercising, and I started to think that the photo might have been a mistake. If you're tired, why don't we go out for dinner? I nodded vigorously, accepting his suggestion. Spending time together might dispel my doubts. Did you go anywhere else today besides baseball? Nowhere in particular. Why? I was just wondering. You said you wanted new shoes the other day, so I thought maybe you went shopping. Oh, I haven't got around to buying them yet. With that, the conversation ended. But the Alex in front of me was the same as always, and they say there are at least 3 people who look alike in the world, so I decided to think it might have been someone else. Yet once suspicion has taken root, it's hard to eliminate. When Alex came home late from overtime or had to stay overnight on a sudden business trip, I found myself unable to shake the suspicion that he might be cheating. Unfortunate events often follow one another. One day, on my way back from my part-time job, I stopped by the supermarket to buy ingredients for dinner. I noticed my cell phone ringing in my bag, pulled it out, and stepped into a deserted aisle to see the name on the display, which made me frown. It was my brother's name. I do occasionally communicate with my sister-in-law for events like a child's enrollment or graduation. But it's been years since I last spoke to my brother on the phone. Such sudden calls from relatives often bear bad news. Hello. Hesitantly answering the phone, what I was told by my brother was that our father was not in good health. He had collapsed suddenly at work, was taken to the hospital by ambulance, and after a thorough examination, was told he wouldn't have much longer. Our mother passed away from illness several years ago, and since then my father has been living alone, having refused the offer from my brother and his wife to live with them. Seemingly in good spirits, even when I talked to him over the phone last week, he seemed to be doing well, so I was very surprised. I said I would visit him soon and ended the call, then took a deep breath to calm my trembling heart. That evening, when Alex came back from work and I told him the situation, he made a very sad face. "I see. Your father, don't worry about home. Go and see him." So the next day, I went to see my father immediately. "Dad, what happened? Are you okay? Mia." I suddenly got dizzy and couldn't get up. "Can't be aging. Sorry to worry you, though." Usually loud and boisterous, my father spoke weakly, causing me pain. His complexion was poor, but he didn't seem to be in such bad shape. "Mia, is something the matter? Did you fight with Alex?" His unexpected question made me flustered. My father gave a wry smile. "You're like your mother, always enduring. We don't know what the future holds, so live as you wish. Parents are happiest seeing their children's smiles." His words made me realize I wanted to talk more with my father, but he said he was tired, so I decided to leave for the day. It was only about a 50-minute mistake, but the fact that he was so fatigued by it made tears fall from my eyes. I sat on a sofa near my father's hospital room, waiting for the tears to stop when a man in a white coat sat down next to me. "Are you visiting your father? I'm in charge of his care." "Oh, I'm sorry. How embarrassing." I hurriedly took out a handkerchief to wipe my tears. Looking at the doctor again, he seemed to be around my age with a kind face that was very reassuring. "It's okay. You must have been surprised by this sudden event. Do you have any questions?" With his encouragement, I asked various questions about my father's condition and what to expect in the future. Even though I repeated the same questions several times, he patiently answered them without showing any signs of annoyance until a nurse came looking for him, saying, "Doctor, there you are." Thanks to him, my heart settled somewhat despite the sadness. When I got home, I remembered the conversation with my father and finally decided to call a friend who had sent me the photo. I had decided to confront Alex's suspected infidelity, which had been weighing heavily on me. I was worried I might have meddled too much. "I'm sorry for making you feel bad." "No, I'm glad you told me." Finally ready to face my husband's cheating, but I have no idea what to do. I spoke honestly, and my friend, laughing, advised me. "Actually, my husband is a lawyer. He says a lot of people come to him for consultations about divorces due to infidelity. I'll ask him for you." Hearing that, I felt relieved that I wasn't the only one troubled by infidelity. My friend quickly took action and told me that it would be better to gather evidence of the cheating and suggested using a detective agency for that. She gave me contacts for several detective agencies and even offered to go with me if I was nervous, making me feel grateful to have such a friend. Since then, I've been busy with visits to my father and working my part-time job. Around the same time, Alex started saying that his work had become busier, with a noticeable increase in overtime and business trips. His actions were so suspicious that I found myself eagerly awaiting the results of an investigation. The long-awaited results came 2 weeks later. When I went to the detective agency, I was told with great difficulty, "It's clear-cut." Without feeling agitated or panicking, I was able to accept reality. Knowing the truth, the fog in my mind cleared, and I felt a sense of calm. I was shown a portion of the numerous photographs and had the past 2 weeks' activities explained to me. I was also told that they had obtained some audio data, which I listened to. But everything was far worse than I had imagined. In the first place, baseball is only once a week. It's always for 2 hours in the morning, and the other members would quickly go home to their families. They said all the other time was spent with his affair partner, and sometimes they would even wait at the family restaurant near the baseball field for Alex to arrive. It seems that he even went to the trouble of washing the practice clothes he took with him as a fake, just to cover up his lies. All the overtime and business trips were lies. It was all time made up to spend with his affair partner. From the most shocking audio data, it was revealed that Alex was discussing with his affair partner about getting a divorce as soon as he received his inheritance, because his father-in-law was in poor health. It probably won't last another month, so let's reserve a high-rise condo near the station now. He was heard consulting. It seems that the recent business was due to him starting to prepare for a new home and making reservations for furniture and household appliances as well. Next month, there were even plans for a pre-wedding trip, and I felt dizzy. The fact that my husband was waiting for my father to pass away was enough to lose any love or similar feelings I had left. I didn't feel sad at all. Instead, I felt a strong desire to get divorced as soon as possible. After paying a substantial amount to the detective agency, I took all the data and left it at a friend's house just in case. When I mentioned that I wanted to hire a lawyer, they readily agreed and offered to introduce me to an acquaintance who was a lawyer. However, all my money had been spent on the detective agency, and I was hesitant to touch the household finances for fear it might negatively affect the divorce. So I reluctantly consulted with my brother. My brother scolded me, saying, "Why didn't you talk to me sooner?" and generously lent me the money that would be needed for the lawyer. After meeting with a lawyer and talking to my part-time job about wanting to work full-time or as a regular employee, they said I could work as a contract employee, and it seemed that things would be financially manageable. Now, with all the preparations in place, I was thinking about how to confront Alex with divorce. Then one midnight, I received a call from my brother. He was calling to inform me that our father had passed away. I woke up Alex, and we both headed to the hospital. After a brief visit with my father, Alex greeted my brother and his wife and said to me, "Take your time saying goodbye," and then went home alone. From there, everything happened so quickly that I don't remember it very well. There was a wake, a funeral, and greetings to relatives, leaving no time to grieve. After the funeral, my brother and his wife were exhausted from taking care of the house, discussing the inheritance and the succession. Alex, as usual, claimed to be busy with work and didn't help on his days off. Even right after my father-in-law had passed, he would go to baseball. My brother and his wife were quite disgusted, but knowing that my decision to divorce was firm, they said nothing, which I appreciated. But there was so much to do that the divorce was put on the back burner. Things didn't start to move significantly until about half a year later. Finally, all the procedures related to my father were completed, and the amount of the inheritance was determined. By the way, has your father's inheritance come in yet? It's scheduled to be transferred tomorrow. But why do you ask? No, just curious. Your father was a big company manager, so I was wondering how much his inheritance would be. Alex spoke as if to make excuses. I sighed inwardly, but kept a bright smile on my face without letting my true feelings show. I heard it's $800,000. Alex's face showed surprise. That much? Yeah, my father must have worked hard to save it up. I just got a call today from the lawyer that the paperwork is done. It'll be deposited tomorrow, so maybe we can go out for something delicious to eat. Emphasizing that the money would be deposited the next day, I smiled brightly. All right, that sounds good. Alex seemed distracted, as if lost in thought. The day after Alex went to work, I blatantly left the passbook on the desk before heading to my job. When I returned from work, as expected, the bank book was gone, and in its place was a completed divorce application. I hadn't thought things would go this smoothly, so I chuckled to myself thinking about Kaja and headed to my lawyer's office to discuss the situation. Then, without going back home, I went to my late father's house. Most of my belongings had already been moved there. What was left in the house were things Alex and I shared, and what to do with them will be decided later. It will probably become the residence of Alex and his mistress. The divorce application had been submitted, so there was no reason for me to contact my soon-to-be ex-husband. The only potential contact would be from my lawyer regarding a claim for compensation for the affair, but they couldn't do anything right now, as they hadn't been able to reach him. However, 3 days after returning to my family home, Alex called. "Mia, what is going on? The bank account is empty. Where is the inheritance? And where are you?" "The inheritance? Do you mean mine? Why would you use it?" I played dumb. For now, his asking for my location meant that Alex had returned home. I had to contact my lawyer immediately. "Anyway, why isn't there $800,000 in your bank account? Did you take my bank book?" I was planning to change the account for my company's salary deposit and had prepared it, but it's gone, and I've been looking for it. "Don't mess with me. It's a shared asset since we're married. Give it to me." I don't want to be yelled at on the phone. It's painful for my ears. The inheritance is a personal asset, not shared. Besides, I've already filed for a divorce, so we're not married anymore. Don't contact me again. It's okay for you to live with your mistress in our house. Bye. I heard Alex gasp, but I hung up the phone unilaterally and immediately informed the lawyer's office of Alex's whereabouts. From that night on, there were multiple calls from Alex, but I ignored them all and enjoyed a drink by myself. After almost a year of painful days due to suspicions of Alex's infidelity, it was wonderfully peaceful to be able to relax like this. Waking up after a night's sleep, I was shocked at the sheer number of missed calls on my phone. It must be Alex panicking after getting a call from the lawyer. With trepidation, I checked the messages to find angry ones like, "Was this about compensation for infidelity? If you knew about the affair, just say it." And even was trying to be apologetic. "Mia, I'm sorry. I was wrong. I want to talk things over." Without replying, I left my phone aside and went to work. Inside my bag was a new phone. This one was unknown to Alex, and I would use it from now on. Knowing Alexa's character, I had prepared accordingly. After a while, the lawyer said that the other party desperately wanted to meet, so a confrontation was arranged. I had anticipated this and preferred to settle things quickly rather than drag it out. We chose a family restaurant with semi-private booths for the meeting place. I had chosen the venue as I didn't want it to be out of public view. At the agreed time, Alex and his mistress arrived. It had been about a month since we last met, and Alex seemed a bit tired. Maybe it was just my imagination. I had seen pictures of the mistress, but it was my first time meeting her in person. Her hair was done up in a bun on her head, and she was dressed casually. She looked so young and cute that I wondered if she was a student, but I knew from the investigation report that she was 25 and worked in a cake shop. I couldn't understand that such a fluffy cute girl saw in a 50-year-old man. Alex began. "Mia, what is all this about? No inheritance and now a demand for compensation. I don't understand." Both the lawyer and I couldn't help but give a wry smile at Alex's words. "The inheritance is something my father left for me, and Alex, you have no right to it. The compensation is because the divorce is the result of your infidelity, which hurt me. You have to pay for that. It wasn't infidelity that caused it. It was a mismatch of personalities. You didn't initiate the divorce, I did. so the affair has nothing to do with it. I feel like holding my head in frustration at such an unreasonable argument. I knew he wasn't the brightest person, but I never thought he would be this lacking in common sense. A person at fault cannot initiate a divorce. It's not about who speaks up first having the advantage. You committed adultery. If that's the truth, you understand you're in the wrong, right? And of course, I will demand compensation from her as well. Why should I have to pay? Her cute face was a mismatch between her defiant expression and the sharp tone of her voice. Is that true? Alex looked desperately at the lawyer's face. Unfortunately, it is. You said there would be money coming in. I haven't received a cent, and now you're telling me I have to pay. I'm going home. I'll divorce Alex, so it's none of my business anymore. She raised her voice in a shout, grabbed her bag, and stormed out of the cafe. The surrounding customers started looking at our table, which was embarrassing. We know her workplace, so it will be fine, the lawyer said with a smile, causing Alex's face to pale. Actually, that girlfriend, she's incredibly headstrong. When we were having an affair, she seemed so sweet. She always smiled when we were together, and she would cry when it was time to leave, saying she was sad. Even being told about the affair, I don't know how to react. After we started living together, her cooking wasn't good, and she constantly wanted new bags and clothes. It was cute at first, but after we got married, it just became a hassle. It's only been about a month since we were married, but Alexa's complaints about her were spilling out nonstop. I realized I always compare her to Mia. You could do housework and cook well, and you always waited for me to come home without a single complaint. So would you consider giving it another try? I'm so astonished that my mouth hangs open. I hadn't anticipated this turn of events, and the lawyer seemed utterly speechless as well. It's impossible. No, please. Let's work this out. I'll change my ways. I promise never to cheat again. You said you were busy with work when you cheated, didn't you? I can't trust anything now. Alex begged intensely, repeating, please, let's get back together. Remember when my father was in danger until he passed away? There was about a month, but you never visited him once, saying you were busy with work. You were having an affair even when I was in such a painful situation. After my father passed away, all you thought about was when you would get the inheritance, right? There were signs you had opened the passbook several times. You probably had planned to take the inheritance and leave. The completed divorce papers disappeared, hadn't you? As I confirmed each fact, Alex began to tremble. He probably hadn't thought everything was exposed. You had a reservation for a fancy condo, right? But too bad, since the inheritance didn't come through, you had to cancel. I suppose the old house we lived in must be nothing but agony for her. How do you know all this? I have plenty of evidence. You're probably still thinking that if you remarry me, you won't have to pay any compensation, won't you? At that, Alex fell silent. It seems I hit the mark. It's profoundly pathetic to realize he's after my money. If there's nothing more to say, I'm going home. Wait. Alex grabbed my hand as I tried to leave. Mia is the most important to me. Please give me another chance. Alex's eyes were brimming with tears, looking like they could spill at any moment. I'll never betray you again, and I'll do all the household chores. Please come back to me. Unable to keep his emotions in check, Alex started to sob uncontrollably. Hey, stop it. It's embarrassing. Aren't you newlywed? Why don't you talk it out together? We should each walk our paths in life. The truth is, she's been cheating on me. It seemed she married me for my money. Without it, I'm just an old man. The ex-husband collapsed on the floor and cried, looking miserable and helpless. But I had no obligation to reach out to him. Our conversation leaked to the surroundings, and it was incredibly embarrassing to see everyone whispering and looking at the weeping husband. Ignoring the crying husband, I picked up the bill, and the lawyer and I headed home. Later, because they stubbornly refused to pay the alimony, I reluctantly called Alex's parents for advice. It had been a long time since I last spoke to my in-laws, who lived far away and were incredibly shy. After thanking them for attending my father's funeral, to my surprise, I found out that Alex had not reported the divorce or the remarriage to his parents. The in-laws were shocked by the news. The mother-in-law was so distressed that she took to her bed. "We don't know what to do. Give us some time," was the unreliable response. So I gave up on counting on them. However, the next day, Alex's father brought his brother to visit Alex. Alex's uncle, unlike his father, was an exuberant man who talked and laughed a lot. I remember Alex complaining to me about how tough he found his uncle, especially when the relatives gathered. Thanks to the appearance of this powerful helper, I don't know what happened, but they agreed to pay the alimony, and Alex's uncle decided to take him back to the countryside. Alex's father tearfully apologized to me for this decision. The in-laws, now over 80, promised that since they had no income, they would have Alex work at a relative's factory nearby and pay me the alimony under their supervision. As for the woman Alex had an affair with, she had unilaterally served him divorce papers and disappeared. But since I knew where she worked, I had no choice but to contact her workplace. I was yelled at not to contact his workplace, but I spoke with a woman claiming to be the manager, and she told me an astonishing fact. Alex had been saying she was cheating on me with the manager's husband, who was just getting ready to file a lawsuit. "Rest assured, we won't let him get away," she said. And true to her word, a few months later, the compensation was deposited into my account. When I went to the cake shop to say thank you, the mistress was indeed no longer there. As expected, she had been fired from the cake shop. And although she had wanted to become a pastry chef, it seemed unlikely now. She was working multiple jobs to repay the settlement and was said to be seen going to a nearby construction site at this time of day. The manager informed me. Out of curiosity, I took a brief look, and there was the mistress, with her cute face sweat-drenched without any makeup, being scolded by an older man while working. With compensation due for two parties, she must be burdened with a significant amount of debt. I don't know how many years it will take her to repay it, but I think she got what she deserved for destroying someone's family. When I told my son about the divorce, he was very surprised, but he said something like, "It's your life. Do what you want," which was a relief. What I was most worried about was how my son would take it. And now, as I'm about to turn 50, I thought I would never be involved in romance or remarriage. But recently, there's someone I've started to care about. He's the doctor who took care of my father on his deathbed. Every time I visited the hospital, we would talk more, and he had a very high level of likability. After the divorce, while wandering alone in a shopping center, I happened to meet him, and we started talking. It turned out that the doctor was also divorced, and finding ourselves in similar situations, we hit it off even more. We've had dinner a couple of times, and I find his company very comfortable. I don't know what the future holds, but I still want to try my best to find happiness.